Hey, everybody. Welcome to Truth Wanted, the show where beliefs get questioned, claims get challenged, and the truth is what we're after, no matter where it leads. I'm your host, Objectively Dan, and this is the place where we take your calls, hear your stories, and dig deep into what you believe and why. And get ready, because the show is starting right now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Truth Wanted. I am your host again, Objectively Dan. Again, this is the live call-in show that happens every single week, Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time, where we talk to people about what they believe and why. And if you'd like to call us, you should do that right now because we have open lines. The number is 512-991-9242, or you can call through your computer at tiny.cc/call-TW. And as always, Truth Wanted is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And every single week, I always have a special guest with me. This week is no different. It is Cynthia McDonald, folks, back again on the show. Cynthia, how are you?
I'm well, Objectively Dan. How are you?
I'm good. You were questioning that, Tyler, earlier. You're like, I don't know if you're Objectively Dan anymore. I think you're Subjectively Dan, which is like, I think you're maybe the 100th person in my life that's made that joke, but that's okay because you're Cynthia McDonald, so it's all right. But welcome back. How have you been? What's up with you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have been a busy person. I just started a new job. Still doing the whole mommy thing.
Yeah.
That's going. It's going, I tell you. A matter of fact, my little one is going through a mini graduation.
Okay.
He's going to get like a cap. I don't know about a gown, but he's also going to get a little certificate that says I graduated from preschool. Yada yada.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't get a cap. You know, when I graduated from preschool. Yeah, I guess that's a new thing they're doing. Well, that's great. Good for him. Yeah. You know,
up there with a finisher's medal, I suppose. But you know,
I mean, hey, you know, it's worth celebrating, I guess. Listen, I'm not against it.
I got a bunch of finisher medals. I was addicted to them at one time, so I'm really okay with that as well.
I got literal participation trophies when I was doing soccer growing up. So fun fact about me, because I'm a giant monster person, right? And so my parents, I think they wanted to utilize that and thought that I was going to be a talented athlete. I did not end up being the case. But when I was in elementary school, they put a bunch of different sports. And when I remember getting the participation trophy, because like I don't think our team ever did anything good. I remember my dad like actually going on a rant about participation trophies and stuff like that. That's a great early memory of mine. So there you go. That tells you a little bit about my upbringing. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Folks, every week we are asking you guys a question or a prompt, and we want to talk about what we asked you last week on the segment. We want the truth. And to do that, we're going to bring Kelly onto the stage with us to talk about that. Kelly, what's up?
Hi, how you doing, Dan?
Doing good.
Good.
Did you get participation trophies or you know, probably
I'm
not,
too
right?
old for that.
Yeah. They probably just were
when
like,
I was a kid.
They're like, here, we'll throw you outside, and if you get hit by a car, that's on you, right?
Yeah,
like, that's
right,
just
exactly. Yeah.
Literally, the literal Hunger
Bleeding's
Games.
good for you.
Right. Hey, you're probably just like, hey, I'm gonna go hiking with my friends at this dumpster for a weekend, and they're probably like, cool, see you. Yeah. Be a time at school on Monday, right? So,
exactly.
Pretty much. Yeah, our parents just let us do anything back in the day. The things that I actually, as I got older, and I was like in my 30s, and I told my mother some of the shit I did as a child, she was totally floored by some of it. So, but then I found out she was a bigamist after she died. So.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, all right, Kelly. So you're just gonna drop that on the show, and then you're just gonna let us. I know we've talked about it before, but I don't know if that's public knowledge. I think you just dropped that for.
It is not. It absolutely is not. Because Kelly and I have worked with each other for a very long time, and this is the first time I'm ever hearing about this.
I remember you talking about this a couple of years ago, but I don't think you've ever talked about it on the show. Are you gonna tell this story now? Because now I feel like you have to tell.
Okay, I will tell tell the story.
Okay.
When after my mother died, my mother and my father split up when I was very young. I was about a year and a half. And apparently she married somebody else, but she never divorced my father. And we were going through her papers, and my sister pulled up here's your papers from when mom divorced your father. And she starts reading them, and it goes, and they have a son that's 7.5 years old. And I was like, no, I was only a year and a half. That's wrong. And she looked at the date and she's like, no, you were 7.5 according to this date. And she had already been married to my stepfather for 5 years at that point. So,
man.
And we had the marriage license for that marriage, right, with us, with the whole stack of papers.
That's a whole ass Reddit post right there.
So she was a bigamist for 5 years that we didn't know about until after she died.
Dang. That's am I the asshole for finding out my mom's a bigamist for 5 years? Like that's the kind of shit you read about online, Kelly. That's crazy.
It really
the only thing we found out is she married my father in Mexico, and she actually lied about her age. She was too young to get married.
Oh, okay. Man, all right. You're just spilling all the tea right now.
Yeah, this is crazy stuff, right?
I didn't realize this was Dr. Phil,
the way I am.
Kelly. I didn't realize this was just Judy. What's going on? What are we doing?
Well, now you know I come from a long line of rebels. You know why I am the way I am.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, we're about to become a reality call-in show. That's right. We're getting calls from your family, and they're gonna want to talk to you and argue with you live on the air. That's gonna be crazy, right. Kelly.
Yeah, Dan and I'm just gonna be sitting here like.
We should probably get back to the show.
But probably good for views, though. Honestly, maybe we should encourage that. You know,
you want to call in?
If you're related to Kelly and you believe what he's saying is factually incorrect, you know, give us a call. Lines are open. Anyway, on that note, tangent,
not laughing.
Right.
So we should probably get back to the show, though.
Probably get back to the show. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Entertaining,
let's find a segue for that one, guys.
Right.
I dare you.
So last week we asked you, what do inner circle atheists not want you to know? Apparently that my mother was a bigamist. And here are our favorite answers. Number 3 from Know What. They don't want you to... the atheist inner circle doesn't want you to know that looking at the trees totally convinced them.
Yeah, which is that's such a good one. Like, can you imagine if one of us like came out with like a tell-all and was like, and you know what it was that brought me back to Christ? It was Ray Comfort. He was like, when he told me to look at those trees, I felt something in my heart. Like, I don't know, how funny would that be?
I literally was told that last Saturday. I was literally told that last Saturday. It was. Right. And then the eye thing as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The greatness of the eye and all that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I said, why do I wear glasses?
Yeah. That's funny.
Number 2 from Shrewsbury Brewery 183. That was a hard one for me to say. They don't want you to know that John from Canada has actually been a paid shill from Big Atheist all this time.
Can you imagine if we did that? If like we created John? It has been accused before that John from Canada is a character. I'm gonna be on the record and say that if he is a character, he's not from us. I'll tell you that he's his own thing. So
I will admit he is a bit of a character.
Yeah. I mean, he is a bit of a character. That's true. But like, is he a bit though? Is he? Are we doing it for laughs? No. I'll put that on the record. He is not. Is not a fake caller. But anyway, as far as I know, I'll say that much.
As far as I know, he's not either.
Could be a bot. I think John from Canada is a bot.
That'd be a crazy bot. I'll tell you
John
that.
From Canada, man. I always have. I think he's all right. Number 1, though, from Chuck Gatos. The atheist inner circle doesn't want it known that the huge distances between stars is actually proof of that the God of the gaps exists.
That's a very funny way to tie that in together.
It really is.
That's pretty good, right?
I like that a lot. Oh, man. Well, thank you for giving us those great answers this week, and for your tell-all family drama. I guess tell us some more. Tell us some more stuff next week. What, you're gonna figure out your ancestors were I don't know, part of some crazy cult or something?
I actually have something for you on that one.
wait, you can't, Kelly. Hold on, we got
You
to talk about
until
this.
next week.
Yeah,
all right, okay.
we're gonna hold to that one, please.
I'm not going to be hosting
I'm
next
about to
week.
say
So.
you're not going to be here next week.
But
I'll tell you what.
You'll have to tell that story without me, I guess. We'll see. But
I'll
anyway.
tell you right now. It's real short. My father's uncle was Harry Laughlin. You can go. He's got his own wiki page. Hitler really liked his ideas. So
Kelly, don't no. Don't tell me that. No, Kelly. No.
It's actually one of the reasons why I've been an activist all my life. I kind of felt guilty and wanted to make up for some of the bad shit my family
sins
did,
of the father, sins of the uncle. Is that what's happening
sins
right
of the
now?
Uncle, right, trying to make up for it.
Oh my God, Kelly, come on, man.
It's not like a psychological need. It's just, it's you got to balance things out. You know what I mean?
I just looked that name up, and the first few captions is jaw dropping.
Yeah.
All I have to say is, I just pulled
he's got
it
his
up
own
just
wiki
now.
page.
Just Google the name, and
Oh
it will
my
come
God.
up.
Yeah, he was not a nice person.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
When the wiki info bar has eugenics on the side, it's not going to be a good article. No, Kelly.
No. Oh damn.
God damn, dude.
Oh my goodness. It starts off all nice. He was an American educator and a eugenicist.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm gonna say this right now. You're doing a much better job as a human being than your uncle. I don't even know your uncle. I've seen enough. I'll put it that way.
He was my father's uncle. I never met the guy, fortunately. But
that's good.
Yeah.
Oh geez. Okay. Well. All right.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. Really. All right.
But next week.
You've successfully derailed this thing 2 times now, so I'm gonna let you put it back on the rails again and tell us what is the question of the week this week.
For next week, we want you to tell us, what can you say to your psychic but not to your spouse? Cynthia, do you have an idea?
Oh my God.
I would say, hey, you could tell them that your uncle was a white supremacist, maybe, and maybe not your spouse. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I could tell my spouse, my psychic, can you guess what the past is about my father's uncle?
Ask him, was my mother a bigamist? Yes or no?
And was my great uncle a eugenicist?
Yeah, was my great uncle a eugenicist? What other $5 words can we come up with for Kelly's family members? I mean, what? How far does this tree go?
I know. How deep do we go to the rabbit hole?
Yeah,
I think we could pick up something else if we really try.
This should be a new recurring bit where it's just a new lore about Kelly's family every week.
Yes. Did you know by Kelly Laughlin?
I can talk to my sister. She's done a lot of digging into our family, so I'd see what else other skeletons I can dig up from her.
Oh dear,
Kelly skeletons. That's what we'll call it. It'll be great.
Yes.
So
do you have an
anyway,
answer for that, Dan? What can you say to your psychic but not your spouse?
Oh, I mean, say to your psychic, not to your spouse. I actually wasn't prepared for this bit. I like the idea of asking about your family tree, though. Like, hey, which member of my family was possibly a Nazi? And if you get it right, then maybe if you can guess great uncle, then you might have some credibility.
Right? Exactly. I was wanting to say something like totally benign, like, is this your card? And pull up Ace of Hearts or something like that.
That's true. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 1,000. Right? I don't know, just real simple stuff.
I have a really bad answer.
Okay, what's your answer, Kelly?
You're right.
What do you mean you're right? Wait, what?
That's something you could say to your psychic, but not your spouse. Okay. You're right.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been
I told you it was a bad answer.
We Want the Truth segments in a while. Thank you, Kelly, for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. We'll go ahead and get you back to the backstage. Man, how do you segue from that? Goddamn, I don't know.
Is this your card?
Oh no. Oh man. Well,
Oh
Cynthia,
my
welcome
God.
back to Truth Wanted.
Thanks.
I know it's been a minute
Great to be back.
since you've been on.
Yeah.
Man, so there's just been a lot of things happening in the news. And I feel like we keep saying that every single week, especially on this show. And you have been on a show with part of the ACA that talks about the news, so it is relevant to you, and you still keep up with the news. One of the things we were talking about, we can't, I think, more talk about this, was the Johnson Amendment, because we didn't talk about this as much last week, but it did happen sort of last week, where the IRS is refusing to, prosecute, churches that are endorsing candidates, which
Right.
since the Johnson Amendment, which is an amendment that was basically, I think it was an executive order, right, posited by Lyndon B. Johnson. Maybe it was an executive order, but it was the proposal he made. We're saying, hey, actually, you can't do that,
Right.
And it turns out the church is like maybe the sixth, branch of government here we got going on. I don't know. There's some other ones, but they tend to have a lot of sway in America.
They do.
And it seems like a lot of people are okay with that, which is bothersome. I don't know. Obviously, you have some thoughts on that, I imagine.
Well, I do. Objectively, subjectively, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was listening to another podcast today when they were talking about it, and the IRS just came out with that story concerning the Johnson Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy thing about it is that they only will not prosecute religious institutions.
Right. That was my takeaway from reading about it too, was it's specifically the exemption is for religious organizations and not nonprofits.
Yes.
AKA us.
Yes.
So rules for thee, not for me. Right.
Yeah.
Sort of classic thing there.
Yeah, that's wild. At first, like when they were reading it, I was going to say, oh, so this means that all 501c3s, including the ACA, can endorse candidates, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, no, absolutely not.
That would be so sick. But like at the same time, I kind of don't want to have a political discussions with the ACA hosts on air. I feel like that's a recipe for disaster because we're all very opinionated people.
We are.
And that would be messy, but also it would be really funny. It's worked out as a good rule for us. I'm kind of glad that we have the rule in a way, because I want to live in a world where everybody's following the rule. Obviously, that's not the case and hasn't been the case for a while. And I guess the IRS is just like, screw it. We're not even going to follow through with it. So
I mean, but just think about it, Dan. There's so many since so many institutions do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
The churches that do it,
right?
And I think that we know that the IRS in of itself is like badly understaffed.
Right. Sure.
It's like badly understaffed, so they wouldn't even have the capacity to even bring up charges in the first place. Sure. And I think that you can like count on one hand how many churches have been prosecuted via the Johnson Amendment.
Sure.
Since it's been like enacted.
Yeah, you have to be like a really, really bad church. And that's not even saying that bad churches like get away with it. They definitely do. It's just like I agree, like from the ones I know about, at least, it's very small. Like it's not a lot of organizations.
Right. Even though like you do have like some of the churches that actually believe in the Johnson Amendment and they follow the Johnson Amendment and they wish that their other compatriots would do the same. But it seems like they're in the minority at this time.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And so like, what are the merits of this? On the one hand, we have this idea of free speech in this country, right? And we like to think that it applies universally to everywhere in every situation. It doesn't, but we like to think that it does. And one of those situations we'd like to think it applies to is churches. There are countries that completely ban churches, completely ban some that kind of freedom of worship and stuff. And there's interesting debate about that. And so it's kind of interesting that not only do we allow it, we want it to flourish ostensibly, right? Americans tend to be really good with that, but like, we don't want it to affect politics somehow, even though it's pretty much always been the case that your religious views are probably going to inform your political views, right? Like they kind of seem hand in hand together. I think it'd be weird if your religious views didn't inform your politics in some way, right?
I mean, I agree with that. I remember specifically when I was like a card carrying Christian.
Yeah.
And that was my identity. Like everything that I did, how I thought, what informed my behavior, what even told me what decisions that I should make or not, what I should go left or right, was really based on my belief, my faith.
Sure.
It wasn't until I came on this side of the secular aisle that my identity is not even it's not completely wrapped up with my non-belief.
Sure.
It's a part of me, but there's several factors in my life that would determine what kind of decision I would make, how I would proceed with life, even who I would consider that I want to date. So, but before that was not the case. Even like how I would, what type of activism that I would do. Right. So it's interesting, like how I would listen to even apologists, Christian apologists specifically, try to put this false equivalence on, people who happen to be non-believers, that our identity is completely wrapped up in being an atheist. And I try to make the case to say that no, no, it's not. It's not a religion. It's a position.
Sure.
That's all it is. Do you believe in a God or gods? Nah.
Yeah. I mean, your motivation for activism isn't inherently informed by your atheism, right? Because there's tons of atheists that don't give a shit. They just kind of live their life and do whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a certain personality that maybe gets you more involved in activism, but also maybe a particular kind of understanding of your world, right? A worldview, rather. So I totally get that. But yeah, as a Christian, though, like you kind of implicitly, and at least when I was a Christian, there's a kind of implicit goal to be a good Christian. And to be a good Christian means to have the right kind of practices, to have the right kind of thinking, and the right worldview in a sense, right? So like that is inherently going to be political in some way. Like Jesus was definitely a political figure of his time. Well, you don't really think about him that way today, but like he absolutely influenced and had opinions about the politics of his time. So he was political. Like so it's going to affect the way you view politics today, whether it's correct or not. That's a different story, right? Whether it's legitimately what Jesus thought or whatever, like it's still an influence for sure.
Yeah. And we are even seeing today, when that whole thing is brought up about, Jesus being a political figure, how he would look at our, politics and world today, and what his stance would be. Right. And, some people feel that, Jesus was kind of a lefty. Right. And he would probably be a little bit more left leaning. But then there are some, like Christian nationalists, who feel that Jesus was not a lefty, and they still use his name to endorse their point of view. So it's I don't know. It's just like I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. Because like I know that at the end of the day, when it comes to like whatever your stance is in the political fray, it's more so whatever your interests are. Yeah. And whatever your interests are is going to be, you're going to take from whatever you can in order to say why you are right. It's true. Yeah.
Americans like to be apolitical. They like to pretend to have the veneer of apoliticalness. They really do. They really like to have a divide between the two and a clean cutoff. And they like to say, "Oh, don't put these politics in here." But like it's always been a front. It's always never been a clear divide. It's like if you're going to church and you're hearing a particular message, it's probably political, and you may not view it in that lens, but like subconsciously it can still affect the way that you view other issues, right?
That's right.
So I'd rather a church be honest, and if we're going to say, hey, this rule isn't going to apply, it shouldn't apply to nonprofits, right? Like we should be exempt from that as well. Like if we're going to just do it, we should just go with it all the way and not this half-assed bullshit, because it doesn't make any sense, because the protections seem to be gone, right? Like that separation church state thing, it's not a thing anymore. Like we're kind of done with that whole concept.
It's what it, I mean, even Justice Sotomayor said that the lemon test is dead, and that's what they use to to basically judge whether, if whatever type of case is a violation of religion and government, church and state. And right now what we're seeing is I mean, it was even before we changed from back there to up here, like case after case, like going over nonprofits, and we would look at some of the cases that came from the Supreme Court. And there was I could think of that one with Coach Kennedy, who was a coach, a football coach in Alabama. And he was his contract at his job, because at first people said, oh, he got fired. No, he didn't get fired. His contract at the school that he was at did not get renewed because he was inviting kids to pray on the 50-yard line after games.
Right.
And the school kept asking him, hey, Ken, you think you don't want to do that? Yeah. Please? And he was like, no, my Lord and Jesus, Savior, Master, blah, 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 yada, 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 says I'm supposed to do this. Even though my question to him would have been I thought that Jesus said that, you're not supposed to pray in public in a vain way like the lawmakers and the Sadducees do. You're supposed to pray in your closet in secret, and you were supposed to say the Our Father who art in heaven, blah, blah, blah. Sure. Yeah, but what's that? A whole Bible verse? No. They don't care. No, they don't care. Yeah, and then but remember that they said one of the justices who wrote the concurrence was saying that his freedom to practice his religion was violated, and therefore you have to give him his job back. And he only taught for a year because he didn't even live in Alabama anymore. He lived in Florida. So they shouldn't even took up the case in the first place. And then he was, and then he played for just that, for one game. I think that they lost, and then he quit. Wow, man. So God didn't even help him out with the game. Nah, it wasn't even worth it. No, I mean, he should have invoked some other deity. Exactly. Well, maybe Shiva or something. Yeah, exactly. You would win more games if you just pray to Shiva. But exactly. And this is not to put too fine a point on this, because I think we should probably move on and get to calls. But this whole idea, this whole freedom from religion, and just separation of church and state, it's always been tenuous. It's always been tenuous, because you can kind of believe in anything and make that the rule now. So it's like, oh, this is my belief, you have to respect it. And this is what Christian nationalists have been doing the last few years, by the way. They're taking advantage of this fact by saying, oh, well, my nationalism means that we have to support proselytizing to people, or that we want to have a white Christian neighborhood or whatever, right? They won't put it in such oblique words, but it's kind of implied, and kind of what the end goal is for some of these guys. So it's like, I don't know what the solution is. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be the guy that says, hey, here's how we fix it, because I'm just as lost as the rest of us. But yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know. It's something, but maybe our callers can tell us what to do here. And in fact, we should talk to some, because this is a call-in show. So let's get to that, Cynthia. You ready to talk to some people? Yes, estoy listo.
Okay, before we do, we have to thank the patrons of the week, patron of the week, because our patrons, we always thank it, but every single week we're always giving a shout out to at least one person on that Patreon. I, of course, want to thank everybody that donates. You're all amazing. But this week's patron of the week is going to be Kalevi Halveti. Thank you so much, Kalevi Halveti. And thank you to everybody that donates on the Truth Wanted Patreon. You guys rock and are great for that. And we had a super chat that came in earlier. We are reading super chats if you guys are donating that. So thank you to Godwin Absurdum, who gave $1.99 and said, it's Godwin_7 changed my name, guys. Thanks, ACA. Thank you, Godwin_7. I like how I said his name, and then I read the rest of the message saying he changed his name. So I guess it's, I don't know. It is what it is. But yes, we are reading super chats. So if you'd like to donate, we will read those messages as long as they are YouTube appropriate. So with that out of the way, let's get to our first caller of the night. We have John from California who wants to talk to us. John, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on? Hello, John from California. Are you there?
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yes, we can hear
How's
you.
it going?
Go ahead, John.
Okay, perfect. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, John. It's a beautiful Friday today in Austin, Texas. Hope it's beautiful where you're at too. How can we help you?
So I'm calling in. I've called in before, and you guys thought I was a troll. That's why I didn't want to I didn't just call back in right the next week, right immediately. And I don't want to give that impression because I honestly believe this is one of the most entertaining calls you guys are at. This is, I don't even kind of know where to start. It's so many things have happened.
Well, let's start with this. I see from the call screener, you said that you watched the Atheist Experience and that gave you the inspiration to be a Christian.
Yes.
That is, I'll be honest. You're the first person I've ever heard say that. Have you ever heard that, Cynthia? I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say that.
This is the first time that I ever heard them say that, and I would love to hear how that happened.
Please tell us tell us about that. I'd love to know.
I genuinely believe that the flying spaghetti monster thing is the real interpretation of the Bible. As crazy as it sounds, I went back through and I read the Bible with the idea that Jesus, I didn't take it as a joke. At first it was, but then as I kept doing it, I kept taking it more and more seriously. Just for entertainment, I went through the New Testament. I just pictured Jesus as the flying spaghetti monster. It turned out to be a religiously transformative experience for me. It makes sense. The Bible didn't really make sense to me before. Now it makes sense. Jesus is the flying spaghetti monster. And I'm here to defend that.
Okay. I mean, I remember talking to you now. I remember you mentioning something about this. And obviously, I think you can see why people would think this is a troll, right? This is a troll call. But I'm going to take it at face value.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I want to figure this out. So
it's in good faith.
You're looking at the Bible. You're having this exegesis, right? You're reinterpreting scripture here, and you're figuring out that this flying spaghetti monster makes sense in history. Literally, the flying spaghetti monster was there 2,000 years ago, rose from the dead. Tell me about this, the specifics here.
Yeah, pretty much. So if you go through the New Testament and you picture, have you ever seen Ed, Ed, and Eddie?
Hell yeah, I love that shit.
Yes.
Yeah, you know Plank?
Yes, I do know Plank. For those who don't know, he is a character that does not talk and is literally a painted piece of wood that everybody pretends is real. So yes.
Exactly. So my idea was if you go through the New Testament and you just start picturing Jesus as Plank, basically, but it's a sack of flour or it's a head of wheat. It's some type of grain. It actually makes more sense than if you think he's a human. And everybody around
does that make more sense?
Hallucinating because it's ergo rod or something.
Tell me why that makes more sense, because that doesn't make more sense to me.
An example off the top of my head will do his first miracle, turning water into wine. I don't know how a human being could scientifically turn water into wine. If, though, we accept that Jesus was rotting grain, fermenting grain, that makes perfect sense. That's right there. All right, a big Jesus quote is, bread is my body, wine is my blood. Just take that literally. Don't put what you want to believe in there. Just take Jesus at his words. What did Jesus say? How is it possible for his body to be bread and his wine to be blood, unless it's like flour? Well, at which point that makes perfect sense.
John, you are stretching my suspension of disbelief to its maximum capacity here, because if you aren't a troll, this is one of the strangest calls I think I've had on this show, and I've had a lot of strange calls. Okay,
this is not trolling. This is my genuine belief.
Cynthia, what do you want to do with this? Because there's a couple different angles here. Oh, you're muted right now, Cynthia. Go ahead. If you can.
I'm sorry. I had a question for John. So, John, I want to go back to this whole wine thing, Jesus' blood. Are you saying that one of the reasons why you think that Jesus, because I don't want to misrepresent you, is the flying spaghetti monster? It's because his blood is like wine, and you compare pasta very well with wine?
That could be an interpret. It's an inclusive religion. So if you want to see it that way, go ahead. I was just taking it literally at its words. Bread is my body. Wine is my blood. That sounds a lot like glucose.
Would it be a Pinot Noir, a Pinot, a Cabernet, a red blend? What kind of wine are we talking about here?
Every single wine. That's what's amazing about Christ.
Okay, okay, so there's a red wine and there's a white wine. Are we doing reds or whites, or what are we doing? Are we doing a rosé? I mean, what are we doing here?
We're losing the plot here.
It's up to you. It's up to you. That's what's amazing about Christ. Christ comes to us in our own form. We all have our own personal Jesus. Some people like beer, some people like wine. No reason we can't coexist.
I just need to understand, because again, there's different forms of, so the Gnostics, early Christian, they're now seen as heretical, but they were an early Christian interpretation. They basically saw Jesus not as a literal person, but sort of a divine figure that gave these sorts of divine truths, right? So they had this kind of interesting sort of different, possibly ahistorical, it's hard to know the historicity of Jesus, but regardless, they had a different take of Christianity. So in some ways, your view isn't exactly unprecedented, which is fascinating. But what I'm hung up on, okay, is were there 12 dudes in the desert that just walked around with a flying spaghetti monster and just like hung out with him?
Yeah,
do you think, was it like a literal sort of events here that occurred, or is the New Testament just supposed to be a sort of reinterpretive metaphorical book, series of books rather?
I like picturing it as it was a sack of flour, and everybody around it got ergo rot, and they just did what they did. I think even if you're an atheist, maybe it doesn't inspire you to faith. If you read the New Testament, imagining that, and then imagining the historical context of what the New Testament became, I think it's hilarious. It's one of the most entertaining things I've ever done.
I'm sorry. I want another question.
Yeah.
So wait, hold on. I got a question for you, sir. Where do you see in the Bible the historical context of looking at Jesus like a sack of flour or the flying spaghetti monster?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Cynthia, because why sack of flour and why not literally anything else?
It could be any type of plant, at least that they had in Judea at the time.
Why though?
Yeah, why specifically that? I mean, because you specifically said that.
Go ahead.
Multiple things, but the two things that really inspire me are the bread is my body, wine is my blood quote, and the Immaculate Conception. Because the Immaculate Conception doesn't make sense if he's actually a human. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
So why
does it make more sense if he's a sack of flour, though, John?
Right,
I don't know.
Yes, hear me out.
Okay.
Let's say Mary was like a little bit. Mary, this is like a 12-year-old girl in like a backwoods province of the Roman Empire at that point. I'm going to assume they didn't have the best mental health resources, and they didn't necessarily know what to do with it. If there's like a 12-year-old, there's a little off. What if Mary just went around saying that this sack of flour was her baby? It was kind of like embarrassing. Like, that's why originally Joseph wasn't going to marry her. And it's like, oh, okay. And it just like goes along with it. But then the sack of flour starts performing miracles and it starts getting fun. That's how I read the New Testament.
I think this is a great creative writing prompt. I don't know why you would view this literally as history. Like, I just don't. I don't think you've sufficiently answered this question of why a sack of flowers over anything else. I mean, I get it because it's funny, right? But like, a lot of things could be funny, or a lot of things could be.
I have a practical answer to that.
Okay.
Consider, and this is probably the perfect show to make this point to. Consider how much better history would have been if, from the 1st century A.D., the Catholic Church had been dedicated to one goal and one goal alone: free beer and free popcorn for everybody, every day. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. What if that's what the church did instead of whatever it does now?
Hey, see, it's like you say that stuff, John. And it's like I just, yeah. Again, you're already suspending my belief is now beyond the point of suspension.
Than, like, actual religion? No, it's amazing.
All right. Well,
how can you take religious people seriously and say that this couldn't be? Like, that's what the church should do, is just feed everybody. Free beer and free popcorn. You get as much carbohydrates as you need. From the Lord's Prayer, by the way, too, at least as far as I can tell.
If that was the case and that was the goal, we wouldn't be here. Right. I'd be at the church. I'd be at the church right now getting some free beer. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, that's just not real.
Right. I would get popcorn right now.
Right.
I mean, like, I'm cool with churches feeding people.
Agrees with it. I think I should do this.
I mean, I'm cool with churches feeding people. I'm cool with churches doing as much charity work as possible, especially for those who are not able to, get certain things because of, like, payment, not necessarily having a lot of money, et cetera, et cetera. But, I don't know, John, can I just tell you where my disconnect is? Is it okay if I ask you? So my disconnect specifically is that I'm not still seeing how you're connecting, like, this specific spaghetti monster to Jesus because he said that his body is the bread and his blood is wine. I'm not seeing the thorough road here. I'm not seeing the connection to where you got this. I mean, like, if you want to say that it's a funny thing, like, a funny, entertaining story, like, haha, wouldn't this be a funny thing? Okay, but
it is, but it's also more profound. It's the Bible. Don't take the Lord's name in vain.
Where's the profound part, John? That's what I'm wanting to know. Where's the profundity? Yeah. I would love for you to tell Dan and I.
On a spiritual level, I think that there is a lot of profundity and a lot that can be learned about life by realizing that nothing we do is possible without carbohydrates and water. Things that we can't create, that's our Lord and Savior right there. That was a gift.
How can you wait before you go on? How is that spiritual?
It alters your ego. It alters the way. The part that I didn't get to was that these things are provided to us, that we can't create them out of thin air, create them ourselves. I think that that's an important thing spiritually, as it humbles our ego. It makes us realize that without God's help, we are nothing. We can't sit here and pretend that we're doing this all ourselves. I think that's an important.
I mean, but, like,
take longer than we have to.
I mean, but, like, you get flour from grinding grain, and you get grain from planting seeds, and the ones who usually do the seeds is the seed and harvest, blah blah blah, farmers. So, like, humans are like
good people
involved with that. Dan?
Okay, let me jump in here because I don't know how much more we can do with this, John. Because, like, so I have to understand history through material evidence, right? if you're telling me,
Okay,
Europeans used to
evidence.
fight dragons,
Sorry.
for example, if let's say somebody says that Atlantis is real, okay, I need something to sort of
I
substantiate
do believe
that.
in the dragons thing.
Okay, well, that's a separate
If you
thing.
go through all of human history from a sociological
John,
level,
please let me finish
the
here.
most successful societies are farmers. Farming,
Okay.
The Neolithic Revolution took off when we figured out farming. It's all about farming. The whole
Again,
crucifixion thing, it's like a scarecrow, right? Like, if you assume that the New Testament,
all right, I am going to mute you because I need to finish this
it makes
point.
more.
I don't know, John. This is just giving troll vibes. That's all from the very beginning. This is troll vibes. It's hard for me to take you seriously. But again, if I'm going to take you seriously, it's one thing to take a metaphorical reading of history, which many Christians have done. Again, you're not completely unprecedented in this new understanding of Jesus and his motivations and what he seeks to teach us through story, right? I mean, that's one conversation, but like, I don't understand how that could be interpreted literally in any way whatsoever. I just think this is just doesn't make any sense. I don't think that really works out in reality, but I don't know. I kind of need something more than just well, if you can kind of look at it like this, and then you can also look at it like this, and then if you take the carbohydrates, yeah, I get it. You find some meaning in reading that, but how do I know this is true? How do I know that this is the correct interpretation over other kinds of interpretation? I understand interpretation can be subjective, but like there has to be some sort of merit to this, right? And I'm going to unmute you now, John, and let you say your piece, but then after this, I don't know. We'll see. All right, John, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
So I had something that before we got too sidetracked, I had something specific that I wanted to talk about today.
And I need you to answer
really
my
profound
question, because we can't keep going on side tangents. Okay. How can we know that this interpretation of reality is more true than other interpretations of reality?
Here's a test. So the past 10 years have been pretty crazy, right? Like, and no matter who you are, no matter what you believe, most people can agree that the past 10 years of politics, life, sports, like it's been pretty nuts, right? Like it'd be hard.
I'll give you that for free. Beforehand. Sure. Whatever. Yep.
What would you say if somebody had been able to predict all of the events that took place from 2015 to 2025 in exact detail in 2012? Would you believe their model? Do you think maybe they had something to it?
I think they're probably a con artist, first of all, but I guess I'd entertain them. I'd see how they'd propose to do that.
My grandfather, who was the one that inspired a lot of this belief, had this idea himself. And part of my goal, if we ever get to it, would be to explain, who my grandpa was and what this religion did for his life. But we'll get there later. He was able to predict, basically, he passed away in 2015 too, rest in peace. But that's significant for like the start of this. He was able to predict the past 10 years of history based only on the following 3 assumptions. Are you ready for them?
No, because I asked you a question and you said that you're going to answer it and you didn't answer it. So you're now losing credibility in my eyes very rapidly. Okay. I would just like to know, how do you interpret your model of reality over other people's models of reality? Because everybody has a little bit of a different idea, right? Especially when it comes to the Bible and what's true about it, right? What makes yours true? Why should I believe you?
If someone was able to predict that was my attempt to answer the question, was if someone was able to predict the past 10 years, like 3 years out, that like you kind of trust their model over other models.
Was your grandpa saying that Jesus was a sack of flour, though? Because I don't think he was, right? This is something you came to.
His whole life. Dude, this guy was amazing. You don't even get it. But
no, but this isn't the story that you said earlier. You said that you came to this conclusion after watching the Atheist Experience.
I did. I arrived at these beliefs myself spontaneously. And then after that happened, my grandma sat down and talked to me and was just amazed. We had to have like a family conversation over this. But the prediction thing is pretty cool. You want to hear the model that was able to predict the past 10 years of history?
I don't think I have time. Unfortunately, we've been on this call for 19 minutes now, and you should have led with that. Honestly, if you had that, that would have been more impressive than talking about Jesus as a toaster strudel or whatever. I don't know, man.
No,
Like,
sack of flour,
or
Dan.
yeah,
Get it
I know
right.
it's a sack of flour. I'm being dramatic for effect. But the point is, John, if you want to call in again and talk about it, that's fine. We don't have any time anymore, though. We got to talk to some other people. Okay. And that's going to be my question. I'll ask you again when you call in. How can I know that your idea of reality is more true than other people's ideas? And let's start with that next time, okay? But I will let you go. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy life. Cynthia, I'm going to bang my head against this wall here for a bit.
Well,
and you can just do a one-up of you for a little bit. No, just kidding. We're not going to do that. I'm just
okay. Yeah, I'm going to say I can understand why you would want to do that. I'm still. I don't know. I was. You know what I really wanted to ask, right?
What's that?
What hallucinogen did you do?
There is that. What were you and your grandpa? What carbohydrates were you and your grandpa smoking?
Right.
Because that's what's happening right now. And California makes sense. I get it. A lot of stuff's legal over there.
Out of it.
I don't know, John. I don't know. Because if you're a troll, it's a weird troll. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Is it entertaining? Sure.
Sure.
But you called in several times and you had interesting ideas last time too. So I don't know, but also I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, Cynthia. I don't know what I'm supposed to fucking do with this.
Dan, I think that what we should all do is breathe in for 4 seconds.
That's
and
a good
breathe
idea.
Out in 4 seconds. So let's breathe in.
All right, everybody at home, if you're listening, just take a deep breath. We do this together, a little meditative session. Ready? Breathe in. Exhale. Okay, we're good. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The social worker in me, that's what we do.
That's good. That's good. Shout outs to social workers. Shout outs to your craft. Amazing stuff. Before we move on to whatever the hell that was, we're going to talk about the Back Cruise. Back Cruise is coming up, folks. Yes. August 16th. Okay. Tickets are selling quickly. They might be out by this time next week because we're getting pretty close. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we still have some more. We'll see. Either way, you should get your tickets. It's because they have run out in the past before the actual date. So would highly recommend, if you want to come to Austin, come hang out with me, come hang out with J Mike, come hang out with Forrest Valkai and a bunch of other folks that are coming down to see. Cynthia, are you gonna make it this year? You coming down?
No, because I started a new job.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You started a new job. Well, Cynthia's not going to make it, but, the rest of us are going to be there. So go check it out.
Yes.
Tiny.cc/backcruise if you want to get your tickets on that. And if you're not able to attend, but you still want to help out, you can actually donate under the live chat to purchase a ticket for one of our hosts or crew and sponsor them to go. So a cool thing to do if you are interested in that. And as always, if you want to hear our content in audio only form, you can go to tiny.cc/AEN podcasts to catch up on the latest ACA shows. We do have another super chat I want to read real quick. It's from Daisy, gave in $10, saying the flying spaghetti monster compels you to place marinara, parmesan, and oregano upon their oily noodles, and you will be touched by their non-existence. Thank you for the $10 there. It's been a while since, it's flying spaghetti monster thing. Yeah, that was kind of an old meme now.
I haven't had dinner yet. I might make me some spaghetti with parmesan marinara on oily noodles.
That's the flying spaghetti monster compelling you to dine upon his noodle.
It is. He's pulling upon my heart.
Right.
Praise be.
Praise be. And on that note, one last thing before we get to our next caller, I need to thank the awesome, amazing crew that help put up with the bullshit that we deal with every week. Look at that. Awesome crew with the camera. Lots of things happening on the screen right now. So thank you for all the stuff that you do. And folks, let's get back to this little call-in show that we got going on. Speaking of Daisy, I think it's the same Daisy that just donated that is calling us right now. It's Daisy from Washington, Seattle. Daisy, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Hey.
Hi. I'm here. I'm Daisy. And
Hell yeah.
I did have a question. Yeah.
Okay. Ready for you, Daisy. Go ahead.
My question is anti-theism or anti-religion bigotry?
Ooh, great question.
That is
Great
a
question.
wonderful
Do you have
question.
thoughts? What are your thoughts, Daisy?
Okay. What I mean by anti-theism is that I believe that humanity would be better off if people would be skeptics, but I don't prefer any enforcement behind that. Like, I support religious freedom. I want people to be able to believe whatever they want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a specific preference that there wasn't religions in the world. Does that specifically make me a bigot?
I think that's a great question. This is a really nuanced one too.
It is.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, but Cynthia, you want to start with this one? Because, we could dissect this for a while.
Yeah, we can. And I wouldn't mind doing that, especially after, thinking about spaghetti monsters and red wine. But so my thoughts, I'm just going to repeat, is anti-theism or anti-religion, being anti-religious, bigotry?
Yeah.
Did I get that question correct? Is that what that question was? I just want to make sure that I said the question correctly.
There is one qualifier there, that I do support religious freedom.
Okay.
So it's that I'm anti-theist. However, I support people's ability to do that.
Okay. Okay.
And so, like, if you look at the definition of bigotry, well, there's lots of definitions for that. But as I understand it, bigotry is defined as obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction in a particular prejudice against person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group.
Mm-hmm.
Like my qualifier that I don't I claim that I'm anti-theist, but I support people's right to have a belief. I don't know. Like, would you still qualify me as a bigot in that sense?
I would say no. And the reason being is because it's not like you're not saying that if you are a theist or if you are a religious person that you should not exist and you should not believe what you should believe or what you do believe. It's just that I'm not of your thought level. I'm not a person who like agrees with you that said theological belief is a thing or should be a thing. I support your ability to be able to worship or believe what it is that you believe. It's just that I am not of that same thought. And so because like you're not saying that churches should not exist and mosques should not exist or anything like or any of that stuff, right? You're just basically saying that, even though that I support your belief, like I support you believing what you believe, I just don't agree with you. And my preference would be that for everyone to be able to lean on skepticism and critical thinking instead of like believing in something that we cannot prove is a thing at all. We can't prove that God exists. God is unfalsifiable. We even look at the Bible of itself, and oftentimes what people use is the Bible in order for it to be the thing that they say is, hey, this thing exists because the Bible said. And I was like, well, you can't prove the Bible with the Bible. Like, what is the outside empirical evidence that says that this is a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would even say I am a person who who was a Christian. I am no longer that, but I do not tell other Christians that you should not be a Christian. I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not going to, be your friend or come to the cookout, because you put raisins in your potato salad. I'm sorry, that's neither here nor there. But I'm not going to come against your existence, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that I don't agree with your position. I don't agree with your and I have reasons for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just leave it at that.
Well, this is why I think Daisy's question is really interesting, because this really goes to the heart of what we do. What is our goal? Are we anti-theist in our activism? What does that mean exactly? I think there's a problem of scope there, for one, right, Daisy? Because religion can mean a lot of things. We were just talking about this. You could believe that Jesus is a sack of flour, for example. Just putting that out there. So, like, what do we mean when we say we're anti-theist? So one, that there's a definitional problem there. But on the other hand, well, we're here, we're talking about stuff. So what do we think? I tend to be on the same wavelength as Cynthia, in that we aren't Christian anymore, both of us, and we think that we're not Christians for good reason. We'd like to tell other people about those reasons, but I want people to approach it on their own terms. I'm not going to make anybody become an atheist. I don't want state atheism. Literally every country that has ever practiced state atheism is not a country I'd want to live in personally.
Exactly.
Right? So I want people to, I do endorse secular values. And I guess one of my secular values is a level of tolerance that I would want to and expect other people to have. And if a religion, if a religious belief sort of doesn't coincide with that tolerance, then I'm not going to tolerate it. Right? I don't think it's worth having. So in that sense, I am anti-theist. I am anti-theist against any religion that doesn't tolerate on the level that I want folks to tolerate. Right? Is intolerant. Because I think groups that have shown to be intolerant, of people or other people, in various capacities have generally shown to be a bad idea, right? But that's a complicated thing, right? So I don't know. That's a lot. There's my scattershot thoughts on that, Daisy. What do you think?
Well, okay. So, like in previous conversations I've had, there has been a comparison made because I am a trans woman, and the comparison was made where people were saying, okay, so you're saying that you're anti-theist, but you wouldn't enforce it. Would you hold the same view about somebody who was anti-trans? And then I got emotional because I was like, are you saying that I just believe that I'm a woman? Or is it that, like, are you comparing these two things? Because in my opinion, I think, like, I've met a lot of people, at least, that changed their religious beliefs over time a lot, but at least in my experience, I wasn't able to change my being a trans woman. Like, it wasn't a choice for me. It was just sort of something that was like, I don't have a choice about that. But
Sure.
You do have a choice about a religion.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm wondering the difference between those two things. Like,
well, let's think about that, though.
Like, I do,
because that's an interesting proposition there. Do people have a choice in what they believe? Because I've historically been of the opinion that's not as concrete, right? Like, I believe that the earth is round. I don't know that I could choose to believe that the earth is flat at this point, just based on my experience, based on what I know, based on other people I've talked to. Like, there's a lot of factors in there that would have to change in order for me to change my belief, right? So even though it is a belief that I consciously hold, I'm not sure how pliable that belief really is, right? And so I on that, by that same token, when we talk about people's religious beliefs, we sometimes talk about it in the language that, yeah, people should change their minds about this, but there may be factors at play that make it psychologically difficult for people to change their minds in such a way where we may view it as being outside of their control.
Right.
I don't know if that's making sense there, but there is something to be said about that.
Yeah. I mean, like, people can be indoctrinated into religions, and so they don't necessarily have a choice, because that is something that they're going to necessarily have to believe because their parents are telling them this, everybody around them is telling them this, and then they have this necessary belief. But at least from a from the standpoint of somebody who is trans, this wasn't external. This was something that was internal, that I just believed about myself from my own, like, nobody told me to be trans. Nobody was around me saying, like, oh, you should be a woman, even though you were born male. You know? So I see that there's a difference there. I don't specifically know if this, like, I really detest being called a bigot, but I don't want to be a bigot. And if I am, I don't want to be presented as one. So, like, if anti-theism is bigotry, I don't want to do it. But at the same time, like, I see all these harms that are being caused by religion that like, are directly affecting me, specifically as a transgender. Like, ironically, it affects me as a transgender person because these religious ideals are affecting me legally and medically. So, like, I'm not sure.
Daisy, if I may say, I have a hard time taking the argument of, if you're anti-theist, you are a bigot, just like if you're anti-trans, you are a theist or a bigot. I think that these are two very, very different things. And part of it is because I'm of your mindset that if you are a person who happens to be transgender, it's not a choice, it's just who you are. Okay? I have been fortunate in my line of work that I've worked with, and I've got resources for transgender women. And I've had hours and hours of conversations with transgender women, and especially because part of my job was to help them get hormones, help them navigate through different medical processes that they were choosing to do, if they, that could be elected, or even, like, when it came to even how to pay for, procedures if they wanted to go that route. But I know that from what they were talking to me about is that this is just who they were. And we even know statistically that very few people, if they happen to go through a transition with their gender, that very few people transition back to the gender that they were assigned at birth. It's like in the high 90%, right? So this whole thing, but I regret it, it's not like a very large populace of trans people who will say that they've done that. So, and you are right that oftentimes beliefs inform behavior, and we are seeing specifically laws that are overtly oppressing to trans people. We have right now in the federal government, in that just passed in this last bill that, in my opinion, is not beautiful, that they were really defunding and taking away, gender affirming care, medical care. Even though you've had hours of doctors coming to the Hill testifying that this is this is healthcare. This is medical necessity. This is not just because, you know, somebody on a whim decided to do this. No, you know, but unfortunately, because belief systems are so intertwined, as we were just talking about, how like the separation of church and government is like such a muddied line now.
Yeah.
To the point where it doesn't even exist, that people are legislating based on their beliefs and not on empiricism.
Yeah.
So, and so like, and I know that like you always hear sometimes propaganda talking about like the transgender agenda. And I was like, I don't know what that means, unless you're saying that if you have an agenda to say that you need medical care, okay, yeah, I'm with that, you know, but it's not that we have people that's in power that are who are supporting that, right? We don't, and so like even if like, I think it's perfectly fine, you know, for a person who has been experiencing firsthand how these belief systems are harmful to say that I'm anti that, because I feel that way as well. I want to like pull out my extensions, Daisy, every time I hear these horrible arguments about keeping, you know, transgender people away from care, or even, you know, passing bills that actually come against their specific existence. That's not right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got on a soapbox for a moment.
No, it's okay. Because Daisy has a really nuanced position here, and is really trying to communicate something that I think I don't want it to be missed, because what she's saying is, from my understanding, is like, you know, there are people who are anti-trans, right? Who we would say clearly display bigotry. Right. Are we doing the same thing as anti-theists? Or if we take an anti-theist position, are we doing the same thing in some kind of way, right? Yeah. So like, to get to the heart of that, like, why am I here? What are we doing here? I figured out that Christianity really wasn't real one day, right? And so I sought out a community and resources to help me through that. And the ACA was one of those folks, right? And so that's why I do what I do. And if that makes me anti-theist, then it is what it is. But I didn't get here because somebody made me get here. I didn't get here because somebody forced me to change my beliefs. Right. I didn't even get here because somebody called me a bigot. I got here because I figured out that something wasn't true. And by my understanding of true, meaning matching reality, as Cynthia mentioned, it does matching empirically, right? Matching logically, it seems to fall through with these things, right? And you could say the same thing for folks who don't understand trans people. They don't understand the lived experiences of trans people, the reality of trans people, the various, you know, life experiences, and also science and circumstances that all go into that. And so it's a failure of acknowledging reality is how we would, you know, kind of understand that, in the same way that I think most bigots kind of fail to understand reality. Right? Yep. So is it a lack of education? Well, we would call lack of education. Is it ignorance? I think so. I think a bigotry comes from an ignorance. And I don't think, as anti-theists or folks who are sort of against the honestly bigotry that comes from religious communities, that makes us ignorant. In fact, we approach it with the full knowledge of what the extent of the harm that's done, right? And that's how I've always been. I've never knocked on people's churches and told people you need to stop being a Christian. I don't think I've ever told anybody on this show in the years I've been doing this, you need to stop being a Christian, because that's a bad thing. I think I've always tried to approach it from the sense of, well, how can we figure out what's true, what's not true, right? So I think as long as you take that stance, Daisy, I don't think that makes you a bigot, right? I think that makes you somebody who's concerned about other people's well-being, including your own, and you want to see what's best for people. And sometimes that means walking away from a religious institution. But sometimes Christianity isn't the problem. Sometimes it's a people problem. You know what I mean? Sometimes it literally is just people are just dicks and they need to figure their shit out. So, you know, like, it is what it is. I don't know. I think that's all I could think of to say on that. Daisy, what do you think?
Well, no, I totally understand. It's just, I don't want any harm to come to anybody at all. I mean, I don't want harm to come to people who have religion. And when I think of bigotry, I think of people who do want harm towards me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, that's not what I'm like. Perhaps I'm using the wrong label. Like maybe anti-theist is not the best way to present it. Like, I'm not saying I don't want you to be religious. Well, okay. I'm not saying I don't like religious people. Like I have plenty of religious friends. They're some of the most loved people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I have a preference that religion wasn't a thing, because I think people should like.
Well, you recognize the institutional harms that
Yeah.
religion brings.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And you see that as a net negative on society. I think that's what an anti-theist would be, is somebody who says that religion overall is a net negative, right? Or theism is a net negative. You know?
Yeah, but don't you think that the word anti-theist could be kind of conflated to
100%.
mean that you're somebody who like hates religious people?
Well, yeah, I'm to some people's minds, I'm probably allegedly an anti-theist, and I'm sure not 100% sure what that means, right? I still don't know. It seems to be a pretty loaded term. Yeah, so it's not really a term I would use to describe myself, because I don't fully know what that means, to be honest with you. But religious people definitely might use that as a way to discredit me, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Like I'm not trying. Like it's tough.
You're trying to figure it out. Here's my thing on this. Maybe you don't need a label for yourself, right? Maybe you don't need that category. Maybe just be free in recognizing that your opinions are nuanced and don't have a great label for them, right? You know, why put yourself in a box? I'm sure in your experience of figuring out that you're a trans person, right, you had to think outside the box a little bit, right? Maybe this is the same thing. Maybe it's like, hey, I'm still figuring out my feelings on this, or maybe there's not a great label for this, and you know, like, you just live with that. Maybe we don't have to be anti-theist or anti-whatever to give it an umbrella term for who we are. Maybe we just are who we are. I don't know.
And if I just can jump in,
I mean,
well, Daisy, I don't know if you just don't mind just me saying that. Just the fact that you're actually trying to work this out because you really care about making sure that you're not causing harm to people, to others.
Right. Because
you're empathetic.
Yeah.
Tells me all that I need to know. And I think that if the person, and I do apologize for the music playing in the background, you know, we got toddlers here, but what I think that happened is that whomever knows that you are a person who does not believe in a god or gods, and, you know, may have used anti-theists in the past or whatever, is trying to conflate those terms between, you know, being for anti-trans versus anti-theist. And I don't think that they go together at all. I think that those are two very different things. Yeah. And from even like my Google definition is, you know, anti-theist is a person who disopposes a god or a belief in a god or gods. You know, now if it means more than that, I don't know. That's just what I got. But, you know, from what I'm hearing from you specifically is that you are a person that cares, that you are thoughtful, and that you really want to be a person that is living a life where you are being honest and helpful to others. And from my standpoint, that is far from being a bigot.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, Cynthia, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, I don't want any harm done to any religious person. I mean, I have this remote, I don't want to enforce this in any way. I would prefer that people didn't have religions. However, like, I understand that people do, and that that, you know, I'm friends with a lot of these people, and so I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I just have this sort of like underlying feeling that like if the world didn't have religion, it would be a little bit of a better place because people would be basing their decisions off of like rational thinking, you know, or skeptical thinking. And I don't know if that is necessarily, I mean,
Yeah.
I still feel a little bit bad because like I don't want to demean people's beliefs necessarily, because if they believe a certain thing, I don't want to like come up to them and be like, hey, you shouldn't believe this thing. Like, I think that that's wrong. Like people should be able to believe, but I wish that they wouldn't, but I don't want to, I don't necessarily want to put anything behind that and say like, oh, we should enforce that. Like, I mean, that's the exact type of thing that I'm trying to fight against.
But this is the kind of nuance that is hard. Go ahead, Daisy. I interrupted you.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, this is what's hard about our community because we don't have a clear consensus on this issue. I think you're really good at getting to the heart of something that is hard to parse out, because there's a couple of, like you mentioned, this implicit assumption here, which is interesting, that this idea that people without religion are going to be better off, right? And I think that's an idea that implicitly a lot of atheists actually hold and may not necessarily say out loud, but may inform why they do what they do. And I think that that's interesting because I've definitely known some people who didn't believe in God at all and are still assholes. Right? Like, you know, so like there's definitely a correlation between those who are part of organized religious groups and oppression. Surely, that no contest there. Whether people are going to be overall better off in every situation, that's a harder thing to prove, and it's a harder thing to convince people of. What I would instead think of it as, at least for me personally. Sorry, there's a gnat just right in my face. Oh my God, it's distracting the hell out of me. And it's trying to get in my mouth while I'm talking. So what I would say personally is, regardless of whether people are better off with religious beliefs, there are institutions right now that are religious in nature that are actively causing harm in people's lives. And I would like to dismantle those institutions if possible. Right. So that's the way I would think about it, because at the end of the day, I know people in my life, at least one dude who, a guy I've known for years and years, is still a Christian, despite the many conversations I've had with him, still a Christian and still one of the best dudes I know when it comes to helping out with other people. And, you know, if there's going to be other people like that with him in the world, I'm going to be okay with that. Right. It's the folks that are making an organized effort to do otherwise that are always going to be the top of my concern, at least. But I don't know. What do you think, Daisy?
Well, I just think that there is a distinction to be made between religious beliefs that are active and powerful, and religious beliefs that are like benign and not powerful, or not trying to change anybody else's beliefs, you know. And I think there's a distinction there where, like, you like, yes, some religious beliefs may not be as harmful as others. So it's kind of like you have to, like, you know, base your opinion about those things. Like, I wouldn't advocate for like a blanket law that says like nobody can have religion. Like, that just sounds horrible and like authoritarian. And I would never advocate for that. But like the specific religious beliefs that are linking up towards power, towards government, and are doing things like, I mean, if you talk about a place like Iran, or like, you know, a lot of these theocracies, you know, I mean, the religion is actively harm to people in their life, you know, every single day. And so I think that there's definitely a scale and like a spectrum to it. So
but those are those institutions I'm talking about, right? Those are the ones I want to dismantle. Like, I'm against that, right? And I'm always going to fight against that. So we're on the same page there. And again, if that makes me an anti-theist, then it is what it is. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not doing it because I'm bigoted. I'm not doing it because I hate Christians or think they're inferior. Or Muslims or whatever. I do it because I want to liberate people, right? I mean, that's always going to be my stance on it. And if you feel the same way, then I think we're in good company, right? But we can't have other people dictate how I feel or think about things just because maybe it has a negative connotation to it, right? I don't know. Some people may misunderstand my motivations, and maybe they'll misunderstand yours too. But like Cynthia said, I think you're good. I don't know you. I think you're a good person, though, based on what I talked to you from. So, as long as that's your forefront, the label's just going to be a label, right?
Yeah. And if I were just to tell you, Daisy,
I do.
If I can just tell you, something, Daisy, that I know that people may try to misrepresent you and put you into a box just because of maybe like a stance that you have. But, just, keep on doing you.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly, keep
Okay,
on
I
doing
will.
you. do you.
Yeah.
And because I think that,
will.
yeah, just keep doing you. Just keep living your life and keep being empathetic and thoughtful and even if you want to go ahead and continue to have these thoughtful conversations where it could even be something that could spark something to somebody else, keep doing it.
Yeah.
I think you're doing the right thing, to be honest with you.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Thanks so much, Cynthia, and thanks so much, ObjectivelyDan. Really loved talking to you about this. It did elucidate a lot of things for me. So thank you.
Great. I hope so. I hope we can get clarity, because I'll be honest with you, this is something I still struggle with myself, right? Exactly what we're doing here. How do we define that? What are the limits of what I believe and don't believe about this kind of thing, right? And I've left it with this idea that I'm okay with this being an open question. I'm okay with still figuring stuff out and not knowing all the answers on this, as long as I know my motivations for why I'm doing it, which is to help other people, right? And to do what I can with that. So I think that's the thing we have to rely on at the end of the day. At least that's what I'm choosing to believe, Daisy. I don't know. But always great talking to you as well. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll let you go for now. Thanks for calling in. Gosh, there's flies in here right now. It's summer in Texas.
Yeah.
It's trying to be crazy, Cynthia.
I have the same problem here in the city of Wind. So I feel you. Subjectively, objectively, Dan.
They came out of nowhere. We've been like being really good about cleaning stuff. Mm-hmm. We're putting all the garbage in the can, not even in the trash can in the kitchen. We're trying to get rid of it, and they just popped up and they're flying all over my face.
Maybe they were manifested by an open wine bottle with a sack of flour.
Yeah, maybe let's go with the interpretation that Jesus was actually a fly and was trying to buzz around with his good news. I don't know.
Good news. Yes.
That was pretty good. Oh, on that note. Wow. How do you follow that up, folks? I don't know. We'll take it to Kelly here in just a second. Before we do, I need to give a shout out to some more super chats. We have $10 from Miranda Rensberger. Thank you for that. Saying disagreeing with people's harmful beliefs and actions, or even wanting them to stop holding those beliefs, doesn't make you a bigot. The problem is the harm, not opposing them. I like this idea, right? Because we all have religious people in our lives that we probably care deeply about, right? Oh, yeah. So, we love these people for who they are, and we don't necessarily want them to change everything about themselves, but there's going to be some problems, right? Yeah. If my friends don't fuck with trans people, they're not gonna be my friends, so there's got to be limits to that. Everybody has to navigate that, right? So
have your boundaries, people. Have your boundaries.
For sure. Boundaries are a good thing. They are. And another $5 from Kelly, Detroit Atheist Queen King. That it says, "Hey, Cynthia." So there you go. That was
Hey,
a
Kelly.
response there.
That's my fellow BN Black non-believer in Detroit area. Very good friend of mine. Thank you very much for the 5, and thank you for the 10. Thank you for the 15. How about I just give you a high 10 and a 5, and that's 15. Bam! There you go.
That's great. And speaking of being great, let's bring Kelly back on again real quickly. Just say thanks again, Kelly, for the very entertaining opening and giving us all something to think about. Let's put it
Very
that way.
much so.
I'm glad you got to tell. I'm expecting more family drama stories when I get back. I won't be hosting.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna check with my sister. She's the one who does the looking into the family. So
I want you to go to ancestry.com and pull up some tea. Okay,
Yes.
I need to know this.
Yes.
But can you remind folks what the question this week is?
I can do that if you believe it or not. Yeah, I'm looking at the back cruise freaking notice. What can you say to your psychic but not your spouse?
Yes,
And
that is the.
I was going to say, put your answer below, not in the comments on the side, but down below, so we can read it out next week.
Yes.
Read it down below, and we'll be happy to take a look at that. Well, I won't, but Kelly will probably next week. And Cynthia, thanks so much for being on the show today. You are great for that. We are going to be doing an after show here as well in just a second if you want to join us for that. So go to the Atheist Community of Austin fan Discord. Link to that is in the description if you want to hang out in just a little bit here. Cynthia, we're about to close out today's program. Thanks for being with us. Any words of wisdom for us before we wrap it up?
Boundaries are good.
Mm-hmm.
Keep being good.
Yep.
And make sure that you are not making your sack of flour bread with bloody wine.
I like that. Words to live by. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you to the crew. Thank you to everybody watching the show. Remember to always keep wanting the truth, and we'll see you next time.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.